4 years wasted. Well, almost 4 years. My soon-to-be ex, who I call Brian over at Just Know So, and I have been together for 3 years, 6 months, and 13 days. He has been faithful for maybe a handful of those days. Not too long into our relationship, about 5 months, I caught him messaging a girl about how he wanted to tie her to the bed and duck her. She sent him panty pics in return. I confronted him about it, as one does when they're sitting right next to theirs. So when some girl sends him panty pics, and he made me feel invalidated. I'd offhandedly mentioned that I would participate in a Thr esome if the opportunity presented itself, so that was how he justified this breach of trust. His response was, "She is for you. I know that you want a Thr esome," so I was warming her up to the idea of being with both of us. Only, he never mentioned me in the messages at all. I waved it away. I was being crazy. I had said I wanted a Thr esome, so he was giving me what I wanted. He was doing this for me. He told me that if I was uncomfortable with it, he would stop trying to find girls for us to play with. He thought himself a daddy dom. For more on that, you can read my post in JNSO. I told him that I didn't want a Thr esome until we were ready for that, and strong enough as a couple to handle that. Even though he begged and pleaded and lashed out and tried to make me feel insane for not thinking we were strong enough to handle it, I thought he respected my boundary enough to stop being unfaithful. He did not. Over the next 3 years, he continued to talk to people on FetLife, Grindr, and Facebook. He never had what I would call an emotional affair, as it was all purely S-timeful in nature, but he had affairs nonetheless. Once, he even had a physical affair. The lines are a little blurred with this, though. He wanted to experiment with a man. I don't know who this guy was, or if he had any diseases, or anything like that, but Brian met up with him, had S-time with him. He asked if he could. I said he could do what he wanted, but that I would rather he didn't for a multitude of reasons. He went through with it, despite my concerns for our mutual health and well-being. I should have left then. The final straw, and why I am now leaving him, was when he tried to invite some random girl he met on Facebook to come over for a floor picnic while I was away at the hospital following my dad having a stroke. In the most vulnerable, terrifying time of my life, he was inviting other women over to our apartment. I have never felt more betrayed in my entire life. That was the point where all of the S that I have put up with for him came to a head. It circles in my brain and I can't stop thinking about it all. I don't want to touch him. My skin crawls when he goes in for a hug or tries to initiate S-time. He is hateful and doesn't understand why I don't want to be close to him anymore, and I honestly don't care. I can't help but feel like I brought all of this on myself. I thought him capable of change, but he would only change long enough for me to be complacent and then go right back to how things were. I was and am tired of feeling paranoid, and tired of knowing our relationship isn't, and has never been, just the two of us. I should have left so long ago, and I do not know why I didn't. There is also a part of me that feels like it isn't that bad, and that other people have it so much worse, and that I deserve all of this because I knew he was APS from day one and did nothing to remove myself from the situation. Thanks in advance for reading. Redditor's reactions story 2 after. Redditor 1, don't think of the experience as a waste. Now you know what to look for, what to avoid in a guy. I'm sorry to hear what happened to you and dad. Spend lots of time with dad in the meanwhile. You will go through it. Op answer, you are absolutely right. My therapist said the same. I've spent pretty much every weekend with dad since, and it's the most time we have spent in a long time. It has been nice. Something else I want is to spend more time with my family, and I will have plenty of time to do that once I leave. Redditor 2, I feel like an old man saying this, but Jesus, isn't staying faithful to your partner more manly and virtuous than an affair or a three-way? Seems like fidelity doesn't mean S at these days. I got to know a lot of these type of men in the military. Creeps to the F-con core, but efficient charmers. Sorry to hear about your dad and that your partner was a fraud. Wishing you better luck in the future. Good guys are out there. Story 2, this is my story. STB ex-husband 27M and I 27F met in college and dated long distance for 6 years. When we got engaged, he had got a job offer at an American company in Tokyo, Japan, and I got a job as an ESL teacher. We flew to Tokyo the morning after our wedding. Everything was going well. I thought it was because we were both too busy and exhausted from our jobs. 3 months after our wedding, I had to fly back to the US to get some immigration paperwork settled and stayed over for a month. I spent time with our families while he remained in Tokyo. Some of you may know, Tokyo has one of the largest time industries in the world. He was ducking around with hundreds of women, even when I came back from the US. My guess is that his working from home was really going into the city to hook up whoever he wanted. At the end of November 2020, I saw Tinder on his phone and he was having casual conversations with women. He played it off that Tinder as a joke and deleted the app. Later he even changed his phone passcode and I was starting to get suspicious. The day before Christmas Eve, he came clean about everything, even about his life before meeting me, like having time with several women in his hometown of NYC before going to college. He confessed that he was ducking other women while I was getting my immigration papers in the US and while I was at work. In that same night, he also confessed that his best experience was a Thr esome, showed me various women he was flirting and hooking with, and that he fell out of love with me and only cares about me. He also claims that his body count at this point is over 100. Prior to all this, our time life wasn't so great and we had a dead bedroom since spring of 2020. He stopped attempting and told me to my face that my lack of experience wasn't it for him. My world crumbled as it would have been our first Christmas spent together ever, and it turned out to be the last. He wasn't what I thought he would be. In that same week, I left, packed my bags, unfortunately resigned from my wonderful job and moved back to my family in the US. I love Japan and I was very sad to leave, but going back to the US far away from him was the best decision I made for myself. We are now starting the divorce process. I have been hurting, seeking support and finding strength in any way that I can. Our families are angry and hurting pretty badly too. I got my COVID test yesterday and I have been feeling pretty good, no symptoms whatsoever, but I self-quarantine because I just want to be safe for everyone. Redditor's reaction. Story 3 after. Redditor 1, your ex-husband is sick. He was basically bragging to you about all that he did to you. My God, he sounds like a sociopath. If you haven't already, please get a lawyer that will leave him broke. Op answer, yes, I'm totally disgusted and I knew that fighting for this marriage was out of the question. I suggested counseling at first, then changed my mind quickly. We're working through this divorce peaceably. This whole thing is something I'm trying to heal over. Redditor 2, please urgently as soon as you can, get tested for STDs. Do you have recordings of what he did? If not, are you able to obtain them? I'm very sorry that this happened to you in this STD time. If you want to talk to someone, you can direct message me. Op answer, all clean in that area, thumbs up. I don't have recordings. Not trying to defend him, but he was never abusive in any form or way. This whole thing came as a complete shocker though. We're divorcing peaceably to my surprise, but he lost every ounce of my affection and trust. Redditor 3, your husband is a broken, defective person who has sexual addiction issues. Be glad you came out of this relatively unscathed. He wasted your time and your money, but your sunken costs are negligible and you went to Tokyo. Block him on everything, fix your picker and find better. I'm very sorry this happened to you. Story 3, I decided to send it. I'm fed up of horrible people getting away scot-free. I deliberated for some time. I even asked in this community whether I should do it. I couldn't sleep. Every night I didn't know whether to send it or not. I sent it exactly 3 weeks ago. Nothing happened, but at least now I can sleep. I have put it to bed. I was with my GF for 2 years. I ignored the red flags, such as her infidelity on all her previous partners, and there were quite a few, her drug abuse, her constant flirting in front of me with other men. When I was informed of her cheating, I looked on her computer and found the convo with the other man. I filmed it all, took screenshots of it, etc. She did not know I did this. She continued to act normally around me, planning our future, etc. When we split, she trashed the apartment, so I received little of my deposit back. She stole my CC details to pay for the closing bill and ignored the final closing bill that was in her name. This was in November. The conversation I recorded had references to hard drug use, with her asking him to do acid with her and MDMA, as well as spending all day talking about random crap using sexual innuendos, as well as offering him threesomes with another of his friends, a girl, and as well as sending pictures of her intoxicated on drugs. This conversation would go on throughout the entirety of the working day using the work communication software. These past few months have been busy, as I've been starting a new career, but I couldn't help not sleeping, thinking whether I should send this conversation to her boss. 3 weeks ago, I uploaded the full conversation to YouTube, and sent the link as well as some choice screenshots of the other guy saying how the interview questions were bullshit to her employer. I said I could remove the video from YouTube anytime the boss wanted. I heard nothing back, although the view count increased on YouTube. However, 2 days later my ex paid that final bill on the flat. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, good on you, sir. This is not done enough. Sunlight is a great disinfectant. And shame is a woman's kryptonite. Redditor 2, are you sure she can't sue you in civil for this? You may want to look into how to protect yourself in case she slaps you with a lawsuit. Redditor 3, sounds like infidelity took out the trash for you.